Okay, you ready to keep driving? All right. You got your little chin rest there? Okay, buddy. Here we go. We're getting out. This is got to be the greatest thing to find in the cabinet over there. Howard obviously bought this way back in the day. Chicago Electric. As soon as I saw the box, the name, I knew this was a hard batch of fresh chicken. Look how dry everything is. I mean, we really could use some rain. It's amazing here how it goes from, May, June, everything is so green and lush, and now it's like brown. Okay, this is the positive side. So 3 cables. So this one here, this big fatty, and then 2 smaller ones, and they're all joining together inside of this large, I'm just going to call it a block, terminal block. This is what squeezes them all together. I just figured out. Hi everyone, I hope y'all are having a great morning. You can see I'm wearing my jacket. It is a crisp, very crisp 53 degrees this morning. Humidity is non-existent. We had a different weather system come through yesterday. It was a rainy, gray day all day yesterday, and this new system, I like it a lot better. Look at the sky. It's a bright blue, clear, fresh air. Look at those big puffy clouds over there on the horizon. They don't look like rain. They come from that direction. That's the Buffalo direction. All our weather comes from Buffalo straight this way, so from west to east. I know that changes at some point in the country. Doesn't the weather move in the other direction at some point, like because of the rotation of the earth and other things that I don't know about? So I think I'm right that in some places it goes east to west, and other places it's west to east, and it's definitely west to east here. Because whatever Buffalo gets, we get it about an hour later. We're going to take a walk down here and see how the construction crew is going. They have been hammering at building this place down here. Peter across the street, he used to work here actually. He was in the cleaning crew that would go some of these places. Actually, Mom is one of them. When you move into one of these units, one of the perks is that they have a cleaning person come in. I'm not sure how often, once a week, or I'm not sure of the scheduling, but they come in and clean the floors, clean the bathrooms for, they do some just, basic cleaning. This young lady that's been coming to do Mom's place, really nice. She gets along with Lefty really well. She has animals, dog, cats, so she's a very animal oriented, and she always spends a minute or two with Lefty when she comes in. So he's gotten used to her. Really nice young girl. Peter used to do that. He lives across the street from Mom. Him and his wife, very nice people. I helped him yesterday. He was getting rid of this workbench that he had in his garage, and it needed to be disassembled, and boy was it built. He told me the history of it. It came from, he's had it for decades and decades. His family owned a hotel. He owned a hotel, a small one down in the southern tier, and that workbench came from down there, and so it's just been around in his family forever, and it's going goodbye. The legs were 4x4s. The top surface was like what you would have found on a kitchen counter surface, I don't know, 40, 50 years ago, something like that, but really heavy duty. So we disassembled it. It had like 5/8 bolts holding the legs on. They were 4x4s, like I said, so we broke it down so that the guy coming to get it can just slip it up in his vehicle without the legs still being attached to it. We're gonna walk over here and see. We came over here the other day, and there was an entirely new building that had been erected since 10 days earlier that we had been over here. So they are really hammering. And I don't know if I was moving in there, if I would like to know that they're putting this stuff together so fast. But this building here to the right, the one I'm pointing at right now, that was not there 2 weeks ago. I'm not kidding you. That was not there. And you remember over here, the one guy that was hammering on that concrete water piping, that was only about 3 weeks ago, and that was before any of that was framed. It was still just a slab. So they really are hammering over here. So Lefty likes to come over and make sure everything's moving on track. He's made a couple of phone calls to make sure that people are doing what they're supposed to be doing, you know, supervisor on the job. But he's a good supervisor. He's a good leader of people. You want to see their maintenance records to make sure they're maintaining the equipment? All right, I'll let one of the guys know. You can come back over later and go through their books. So Lefty, we took him to the vet that one day that I had that little scare. And by the time we got him there, by the time his grandma got him there and then I went off to my doctor's appointment, he was pretty much back to normal. So we're all convinced that it was like a bee sting. He stepped on a bee one time a couple years back. I don't know if you saw the video. We had gone to the beach, Dalen and I. She took Blue, I took Lefty, and we went up to Lake Ontario, and we got out of the car, and before we even walked down onto the sand, Lefty stepped on a bee and got stung, and that brought that trip to an end. But his reaction that time was nothing like this. This was a lot more severe, like that he wasn't even standing on that leg this time. And that right rear leg is the leg that's, to me, that's his weak leg that's been showing signs of weakness over the last couple of years. And so that was my immediate thought, was that something had gone bad with that leg suddenly, like he popped a joint or something. And so that's why I was really panicked about it, because I'm ultra sensitive to that leg. But as it turns out, it was just like a bee sting. And the immediate swelling, that should have been a real clue to me. I just wasn't thinking at all about it being a bee sting. I was totally focused on it being something with that leg that already is not at 100%. But so the vet, when they got him, she took him for a walk around, just watching his walk to see what he was doing. And she said he definitely showed swelling, and one of the toes was red. So she thinks that he got stung in one of his toes on the underside. And so she gave us some anti-inflammatory meds, which I gave him for just 3 days. And he was pretty much back to normal that afternoon. He was, even before we went to the vet, he was already jumping up on the bed and back to himself. And I should have stopped and thought. I was just pretty wound up that day from everything that was going on. But he's fine now. He's good to go. Everything's back to normal. This morning I do want to finish one last thing before I sit down at the laptop to put the video together. And we're going to get out here and put the key in it and see what happens, and see if I can put that out of my mind, that everything is back fixed again. And I'm pretty sure I figured out why this happened, and I'm going to show y'all what caused this to happen. So let me get him fed, and then we'll take a look at this thing and see if she won't start for us. Oh yeah, that's a military. That's one of the double propellers. What's the model number of that one? I could hear that thing coming. You can kind of feel it in the ground, the thumping. So we're out here this morning. I got to figure out what went wrong with the truck yesterday. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is just throw my voltmeter on the battery and see if that's... Oh, hello. You can go ahead past us. Sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna get my voltmeter out. I think it's still out in my rear cabinet. Let me go check real quick. Oh, it's just Grandma. It's just Grandma. No, we're not going anywhere, buddy. So the device down here that I have that's my trickle charger, it is slow blinking yellow on the charging. I think we're gonna find that the battery's dead for some reason. You know, my lights are off. Yeah, I think the batteries are gonna show up that they're depleted, and then I just have to figure out why, what happened. These batteries are under a 2-year warranty, so let's get the voltmeter out and see what we're reading here on the cranking batteries. Yeah, 11.6, so we got a battery problem. Either that device I have, that Ampil Start, that keeps the crank batteries topped up from the solar system, either that has died, or there's such a draw that it can't keep up. It can go up to 15 amps if needed. You know, for a truck sitting idle with no power draw, that's plenty of power to keep the batteries suited up and ready for action, and it's always worked. This thing has sat for weeks. Like I said, I ran this thing after we got, it was to go over to Dalen's. It had to do with the e-bikes and all that, going over there and picking up e-bikes because I had them delivered, some of them to her house. I didn't want to overload Mom's garage with boxes of e-bikes. You've seen how many e-bikes we've been through this year. So I had some of them delivered to Dalen's house, and I had to go pick them up, and I used the truck, and that was, you know, a few weeks after we'd gotten here. The truck had just sat, cranked right up like it always does. So when it did not crank yesterday, I was really taken back because it's never, ever done that before, ever. I was getting the door open beeping sound, beep, beep, but I wasn't getting wait to start because the glow plug system didn't have enough power to fire the glow plugs. So the wait to start was not going to come on because the glow plugs weren't firing. So I have a couple of options here. One of them is pull the batteries, bring them up to the shop, and have Tim throw them on their charger and charge them up. Second option is I have over in the cabinet, it's actually Howard's. It's a trickle charger and car starter. It's an old Harbor Freight unit that's either a trickle charger, but it also has like a boost mode for starting a car. But I have my Gulu also, and I wonder if the Gulu would give this thing enough power to crank. I don't think so. With the batteries that low, that Ampil Start, I've always wondered this. If the solar system isn't actively pulling power, you know, like right now the batteries are fully charged, so it's like bringing in 0 amps basically, watts from the panels, because it doesn't need it. So does that mean the Ampil Start doesn't see that there's available amperage, so it doesn't have the power to boost? Like, it's not going to steal from fully charged batteries? I've always wondered that. And maybe that's what's happening, because I have no draw on my house system. No draw at all. Everything's off. I still have to dig up the instructions for the Ampil Start. AMP-L-start. AMP-L start. Meaning it should provide ample start power. So I figured out what the whole problem is. Very strange, but I figured it out. The batteries were basically stone dead. I mean, I had a reading of, I'll have to look at the footage, but if I remember right, when I first put the voltmeter on the crank battery, I was at 11.2. And if you look at lead acid batteries, voltage versus percent, you know, percent of charge, state of charge, 11.2 is basically 0. The batteries are flat. They got nothing. And that's where we were at. And why is the question? Because I have the Ampil Start, which uses all of that solar power. It uses a little bit of it, up to 15 amps, to keep my cranking batteries maintained, topped up. And ever since I installed that thing, we have not had any problems. The truck can sit for a month, 2 months. I get in, turn the key, cranks right up, no problem. Except this time. Yeah, no problems ever, except when we had a problem. Here's what I have figured out has happened. Between last summer and this summer, I'm trying to figure out, like, what's the difference between last year when we came here and the truck sat for 2 months and cranked right up. What's different between last year and this year? Well, I'll tell you the difference. That WeBoost is no longer plugged in and drawing power from my house batteries. From everything it looks like, the only difference between last summer and this summer is the fact that that WeBoost is no longer drawing power, so my solar system is no longer charging my house batteries. So they're just sitting there fully charged, no solar coming in, so no power for the amp start to keep my crank batteries topped up. It sounds ridiculous, right? Because there's 800 amp hours of battery power just sitting there. Why don't you use some of that? So yesterday, I kind of figured this out and I said, well, let's test it. So I went in, you saw, I plugged in the refrigerator, I plugged in the freezer, I turned on the roof fan on high, on 100. And sure enough, you know, that started using my battery power. So the solar system kicked on, and at one point it got up to about 20 amps it was bringing in because of that draw that I was putting on it. And what do you think happened? The amp start kicked on and started charging these batteries like it's supposed to. And by the end of the day, by 5:36 p.m., these batteries were charged back up. I came out, put the key in the ignition, turned it to the on position, not crank, just the regular on, and everything did what it was supposed to. The voltmeter came up to, 13 volts roughly. The wait to start light came on. Everything did exactly what it was supposed to. I turned the key back off. I wasn't ready to crank the engine. I don't think the batteries were all the way. When I checked them with the voltmeter at 5:36 p.m., they were showing 12.54, that's pretty much right up there at 100% for a lead acid battery. But I wanted to let them charge more. I just can't believe that amp start is designed that way. And I've never run into this before because I always had a draw on my house batteries. That WeBoost has been on for 6 years, 24/7. So there was always at least that draw that was keeping my solar system working because of that WeBoost always being on. So that's the only thing that changed. When I got the Starlink, I didn't need that cell booster because I used to use a cell hotspot. You all know that. I had a little Wi-Fi, MiFi. It was an old Verizon hotspot that I had configured to work on a cellular MVNO reseller of Verizon. So it was on the Verizon network and it was running 24/7. That was my internet, was that little hotspot device that I had. And so I needed the WeBoost to boost my cell signal up. Hold on, Lefty's double wrapped around the neighbor's tree over here. You want to get a look at this knuckleheadicus? Oh, and there's a dog down the street. Yes, there is. Hello, sir. Can I help you? Can I help you? Is life making you feel like you're wound up? It sure does to me sometimes. Oh my God. I just made a joke about you are double wrapped around this tree. I was just kidding. That's my boy. If you're going to do something, do it right. Stay right here. If you're going to do it right. So you might as well go 2 times. Come on up here. I guess maybe it's designed that way. The thought being, if there's no incoming charge, they don't want to draw down your existing power that you have because there's no incoming. So I kind of get it. I'd much rather have my crank batteries topped up than a little bit of extra amps in my storage back there, in my storage batteries. But that was, I guess, not the intent or the same thinking of the Ampil Start designer. So what I'm going to do, we're going to get out the old classic. This is got to be the greatest thing to find in the cabinet over there. Howard obviously bought this way back in the day. Chicago Electric. As soon as I saw the box, the name, I knew this was a Harbor Freight item. This dates back, I have to look it up. I've got to find, I'm going to snap some photos of it before I finish up out here so that when I go sit down, I can take a look at and try to figure out year of manufacture, when they were selling these. Just a great, great, very heavy. So I think it might have some good componentry in it. You know, I could see something like this today coming from Harbor Freight weighing nothing, right? We've all seen that kind of stuff. So I'm going to run the extension cord out here, and I'm just going to leave this thing on for not a long time this morning while it's still cool out. Yesterday, I did plug it in at the end of the day, but it was so dang hot out here. It was just a hot box. So I decided to unplug it. You know, the batteries, like I said, were already showing like 12.54 volts, which is very good and strong. So I only had it on for like 30 minutes, and then I decided, you know, it's just too hot. Let me give it a break. So this thing, and this is in perfect condition. There is not a dang mark on this thing. It has been used, I can tell, because right there, you see that? I can definitely, and I am going to clean that so that it looks brand new again. But it obviously was on a battery post that had some corrosion on it, and it transferred over to this is the positive. And then this thing with a nice wipe down, I think would look as good as the day it was built. Brand new looking. It's incredible. Big believer in taking care of tools here, and Howard was the same way. And I know that he would be very happy to know that I'm out here using this. He was always asking if I needed tools. There was one instance, I think it was 2 years ago, I was working on something, and I have a long, large size crescent wrench, and I was in there talking. You know, I always go in and kind of spitball ideas when I'm in the middle of a tough something that I'm working on out here. I was explaining how I got this wrench, and if I had like another one, maybe I could hold it. And he's like, I have a couple of big crescent wrenches upstairs. He says, go up and look, see what you find. So I did, and sure enough, he had another one, another big crescent wrench, Harbor Freight. So I came down with it, and he said, yeah, use it, go ahead. So I came out, and whatever the project was, I can't recall, it worked. I was able to do what I needed to do with those two large crescent wrenches. When I was getting ready to leave here that summer, leave my visit and head back out on the road, Howard had said several times, he said, make sure that you take that wrench with you that you used. He wanted me to have it. He wasn't using it. He wasn't gonna ever be using it again. And he wanted me to take it and take it with me. And I did. I have it still. And I remember like it was the morning we were leaving, and I went over and, give Mom a hug, give Howard a shake, and rub his shoulders, kinda. And he said, you got that wrench, right? That wrench you're taking, you've got it? And I said, I've got it. It's packed up. He said, good. All right. So very, very gracious. That's why I say I know he would be really happy to see me out here using this battery charger. I know he would be. So Howard, this one's for you, brother. You're going to help me get this thing back up and running again. This is for you, brother. So you see that sweep needle on the left side? It's pointing to this one here. So it's above 10, below 13. Those are the only two markings there. So it looks like, if I had to guess, it's kind of at 11-ish. So this does have a 55 amp engine start mode, which is pretty great. Okay, so we're gonna let this sit for about an hour, and I'm gonna keep my eye on it, so we'll check back in a little bit and see how it's doing. So those batteries are sitting basically at 100% all day, all night. So does that amp start not see any available amperage, so it's not charging the batteries? Maybe I need to put a draw on my house system. So let me turn the fan on and let me see if that changes the readout. Yeah, because right now it's like not charging the crank batteries, my amp start. It's not charging them. Although at 11.6 volts, it should be charging them. So if I turn on my fan, and I'll run it all the way up to 100, still not going to use a ton of power, it's just a fan. I could also plug back in and turn on my refrigerator and my freezer. That would be power usage. You know, my LEDs, I can turn them on. They're not going to use a ton of power. See, like right now, the solar system, it's basically 0.6 amps it's bringing in. But I think it's going to jump up here now that I'm putting some draw on the batteries. But I need the amp start to see more than that for available amperage, I think. That's what I think. And unfortunately, that company is no longer in business. The gentleman who founded that and designed that system, he passed away, and the company closed down, so I don't have any resource to do some question asking. So I've just plugged in my ICO. Sorry you can't see me. And I'm going to turn it on. Okay, yep, so now it's on. I've got it on max cooling. It's showing 77 degrees inside of the refrigerator, so it's going to take some time. So it's going to draw some power. So I can now turn on my freezer over here. So now I'm almost up to 10 amps of draw on the system. Battery's still showing 100%. It's a lot of battery power to put a draw on, you know. So let me go see if the indicator. Oops. Oh, you guys went for a ride out here, huh? I'm sorry about that. He had y'all going for a little amusement park ride. Oh, there's an ant crawling on the camera. How'd that thing get all the way up there? Let me see if the lights have changed. This has different indicator lights on it, this amp start. Okay, now it's solid on charging. So it is actually charging now. It's yellow, which means it is charging. So my question is, should I just let this run like this for, you know, it's going to take hours and hours and hours. Let's see what we're getting on the battery readout now that the amp start looks like it's actually charging. We should be getting something different, and we're not. 11.5. So that's a trickle charger. You know, it's going to take a heck of a long time to charge these crank batteries back up. 12.05. Well, that's interesting. How did I just jump up half a volt just by repositioning? 12.05. Huh. 13.42. So this one cable, that, you know, this positive side here is a conglomeration of a whole bunch of cables. You've got one of them that runs right out to the inverter. You've got, actually it runs to, there's an ant again. It runs to up under the driver's seat where that switch is, and then from there it went out to the inverter, if I remember correctly. It's been a lot of years. See, but what I'm seeing is, yeah, see the cable that's coming up here from up under the seat is showing 13.3 volts right now, because that's where the ampule start is giving its juice. But then when I jump over to the terminal that's bolted to, it's a part of it, I drop down to 12.2. Okay, this is the positive side. So 3 cables. So this one here, this big fatty, and then 2 smaller ones, and they're all joining together inside of this large, I'm just going to call it a block, terminal block. And you see this bolt and this is what squeezes them all together, I just figured out. And this is the one, this cable is the one that's coming from up under the seat. So this is the one that's feeding the ampule start power. And so when I was just talking about the difference I was seeing in voltage, if I touched, you can see all my scratch marks here, I was cleaning it. If I touched right here, you know, I was getting 13.6 volts. But if I went over here, I was getting 12 point something. So I was getting a huge drop between this cable and what's actually touching the battery. And that's when I figured out that this was loose. I could take this cable and actually wiggle it. So I got wrenches out, and I actually used Howard's big crescent wrench that he gave me. I put his big crescent wrench on this end. I put, I think it was a 14 millimeter on this side, and I was able to cinch this down. And now my volt reading between this and this is identical. It's all identical. There's no more drop off. And the other thing I'm realizing is this second large gauge cable, it goes down to the second crank battery. So it was also not getting a good connection, which means that I was not getting full power from that cranking battery that's mounted down on the frame side. I was also not charging that battery as good as I could have been because of it being loose. So this, figuring out that this was loose, was a huge problem solving step. This is, I mentioned it, this is a factory Ford part. So if you have E450, E350 ambulance package, you're probably going to see this exact same monster on your positive battery terminal out here. And if so, you're going to want to come out and make sure that that is tight between that bolt head there and this here. This is your, area if you're going to jump start, right? It actually has its own rubber cap. So if you need to do a jump start, whatever, it's even labeled positive jump start. So you'd pop that off, you clamp onto there, and that's how you would jump start the vehicle. So if you have one of these monster positive side terminal blocks, get some tools on this and make sure that these are tight. That makes a big difference. You're going to see a tremendous power drop. If this isn't tight, you're going to see a tremendous power drop between what's coming in, what's going out, what's here at the battery and what's going on with your secondary batteries. Some people have 3 crank batteries in their ambulance package, and those would all be coming together on a similar type block. Make sure all these connections are tight, whichever kind of block you have, whether it's this identical one or a similar one. Make sure that all these connections are tight up here, or you're going to be seeing huge power differences between what these cables are supposed to be doing and what they actually are doing. So finding that, huge troubleshooting. I'm smart to figure it out, but a dumpski for letting it be that way in the first place. So I don't know if this, I know this all needs to be replaced. This whole terminal here is very much in bad shape. It's actually cracked where it clamps around the post of the battery. It's actually cracked, and it's being held together with hopes and dreams. And I don't ever like to have to take it off because I don't know if it's going to be the last time that I'll be able to get it to clamp back together, because it is cracked. Yeah, I'm getting 13.5 coming from under the seat. That's coming from the amp start. So it's actually working now. Okay, we're back out here the next morning. So yesterday, you know, I left the fridge and freezer are still on. I mistakenly left the fan on overnight in the rain. We are reading 13.46 on the battery post. Couple of things, by tightening that one wire connection that comes from up under the seat, which is where the amp start is connected. So I'm reading 13.46 on that cable connection and 13.46 on the battery pole. So that whole connection, I'm no longer losing. I was losing what, like 0.8 volts, which is terrible, just from that connection being loose. So what I want to do is I want these batteries to continue to be charged, and we are overcast and rainy today, and I just looked, and the solar system is, you know, it's doing some amps, but not very many, some watts, I should say. Got to remember to talk in terms of watts, because amps isn't equal if you got a 24 volt system and I say 10 amps and I'm on a 12 volt system. It's not the same. So watts is always the same. So what I want to do is I forgot that I can just plug in my shore power and use my inverter charger. It'll provide plenty of amperage, and the amp start will have plenty of amperage to be able to keep these batteries fully charged. I want to charge them until I get in there and actually crank and turn the key, you know? So I'm going to plug in my generator. You remember these? My favorite rubber-coated twist ties. If you haven't gotten some of these, get yourself a kit. I talked about these in a video a while back. I'll see if I can dig up the link and I'll put it down in the video description. The best for like wrapping up, you saw what I just did, the best for wrapping up cords. Absolutely perfect. So this is what we're going to use today. I just happen to have from Max Speeding Rods. You've seen my generator I've used in the past. It's orange and black. Max Speeding Rods, it's their MXR 3200. Well, this is their MXR 4000. So this one will give you 4,000 watts if you need it. See, I'm talking in watts. It'll give you 4,000 watts. It's a new design. They still sell the orange and black line of inverter generators, but this is another line that they sell. Very comparable in features to what I did have, except for a few notable additions. This has an app Bluetooth connection to an app so you can monitor what's going on with the generator. This has a CO, carbon monoxide detector. So if this thing is in a semi-enclosed space and the carbon monoxide level gets too high, it'll shut itself off. The other one had nothing like that. Very nice to see. Because that could happen. You could have this thing set up and just from the wind and it might be collecting up under your tarp, you know, the carbon monoxide, and you don't know it. So this thing will protect you in case the level of carbon monoxide gets too high. So this is brand new. They just sent it to me. I put oil in it. They ship without oil. Okay, I just got the oil put in this. They are shipped without oil, and it is prominently labeled on here that you've got to put oil in it before you run it, which is good because I'd hate to see somebody fire one of these up with no oil in it. So just while I have the cover off, I wanted to show the internals here. Very similar quality to my previous max speeding rods. That's my MXR 3200 over there that I've had for a few years. Runs perfect. I always liked the quality of the wiring I saw inside of that one, and this one looks the same. You can see their quality marks on here, where they've made sure everything is plugged in correctly. They've got good loom over everything, protecting the wires. So this is really similar to the way that that one was internally. I like to see it. So I just used their included funnel, which threads in with an O-ring. So I didn't have one drip. I didn't have any spillage problems. I had to go up and buy a quart of oil because I didn't have any. Just 10W30 is what I put in it. And they got some great graphics on this thing. This is, I think, silk screened on there. It's not a sticker. That is either silk screened or molded right into the plastic. I think it's silk screened. It's very nice. It's not a sticker though. This is a sticker on here, but the main graphics, not a sticker. So I don't know how they did that, but it's done really well. Really is a snazzy looking piece of equipment. A lot different than their previous. And they still sell this line, this orange and black line. They have both, so you can get either the white and red, or you can get the orange and black. And I'm not sure why they have two different lines. So I'm gonna get this back together and get her fired up. So just to be clear, this does not come on wheels. This is just a little wheeled cart that I have, that Mom has actually, that I love. So whenever I need to roll something around that's heavy, this thing comes in really handy. So this has a turn to start, which does the choke. So this is very similar to my other unit. It did have a quick start instruction sheet. Let's take a look at it. Make sure I'm not missing anything here. Add gas. Oh, I didn't add gas, did I? We went and got some gas up at the corner station just now, so here we go. So it holds a little bit over a gallon of fuel, very similar to the other one that I had. Add gas, add oil, turn the fuel switch to the choke position, pull the handle. That's it. So we're to the point of pulling the handle. All right, so brand new. Let's see how long it takes, how many pulls. What do you all think? Put your guesses down in the comments. Is it gonna be one pull? First, I'm gonna do just a tester pull like that. Now here's the first real pull. One pull. Oh, that's quiet. Wow. That is quiet. So this is the muffler side. Very quiet. Nicely done. And to turn it off, see, now that rundown like that, it's taken the remaining fuel, so it doesn't want to shut down with fuel like actively flowing through the carburetor. So that's why you put it to the stop position. It does that low idle like that, and then it shuts off. It runs its own fuel out after it shuts the fuel off. That's how it works. So it might seem like it's not shutting down correctly, but it's actually clearing the fuel out of the line so that it's not going to have a chance to come dripping out of the bottom of the carburetor. So you can either run it on full blast or you can put it on eco mode, where it runs at a low speed until it senses a load, and then it raises up the RPM. So same feature that my other one had. I'm glad that they still have that feature on there, because I used to use that a lot. So we're going to fire this up, plug it into shore power. I'll go inside, turn on the inverter charger, and this thing will give us plenty of power to get these batteries charged up. So it has the tri-mode switch, stop, run, choke. So you turn it all the way to choke, or start as they have it labeled. And then you turn it back to just the run position. So this thing is quiet. It's quiet. So that's the economy mode. Did you hear it cycle down? And that's full mode. Boy, it's quiet. I like it. So I'm gonna let it run. I usually let a generator run for a minute before I put a load on it. So this thing took a half a quart of oil. 10W30. All right, so let's do this here. Plug that in. Plug that in. Now I'm going to go inside and turn on the inverter. And that's all it took. Now let's hit the economy. That's all it needs. Now, so it's charging. The inverter charger is running. If I feel like turning this up, I can turn it up and you'll hear the generator go up. Hear that? Because I'm turning up the charger amperage. My inverter charger is adjustable up to 100 amps. I'm going to turn her back down. There she goes. I usually run it at about 70 amps because you get 4 batteries. 20 amps is what they say is a suggested good charge amount. So 20 amps times 4 is 80. I usually run it at about 70 amps. Yep, it's charging. All right, let's see what we got going on out here. 13.7. So it's putting a good charge onto these batteries. So that's working perfectly. So one thing I always also do is after I've used the generator, let it run for a minute to cool off, to let the oil circulate. That's all in the owner's manual. I read that years ago with my 3200. So I'm going to do the same thing. You run it for a minute before you put a load on it, and when you take the load off, you run it for a minute before you shut it off. And that all makes sense to me. So again, this triple position switch to turn this off. Now listen to how it shuts off. It doesn't just shut right off. It's actually a fuel shut off. You ready? I'll point the muffler towards me so you can hear it. See that? It shuts the fuel off and runs the last of the fuel out of the line so you don't have fuel remaining in that line that could possibly seep out. I like the way they do that. So this is the Max Speeding Rods MXR 4000. If you're interested in this or any of their products, I'll put a link down in the video description. I've got a discount code for their official website. They sell a bazillion different products: generators, diesel heaters, gas cans, fuel cans, all kinds of different products. If you're thinking about buying anything that's tool related, they got turbos, they got tools, all kinds of stuff. I've got a discount code that will work on anything from their website. So click through their website. If you're looking at buying something, you might find it over there for less expensive than you could get it somewhere else, especially with my discount code. Here's something I wanted to show you that it comes with. It has a dust cover that you can put over top of that thing when you're not using it to keep the airborne sand and such from getting through the grill and piling up inside. Never saw that before. And it comes with, if you're going to parallel this to another one, it comes with the parallel cables already included. And it also comes with, you can make your own 30 amp cable. It comes with different versions of 30 amp plugs that you can build your own cable out of. Very cool. And then of course, a small tool kit for changing the spark plug. And it also came with a funnel that threads in to the oil filler. I used it, so it's over there draining out right now, but it's a plastic funnel, threads right in, so there was no leakage. It has a rubber O-ring on the bottom of it, so no spillage, not even one drop of oil spilled when I filled this thing with oil. And again, it only takes a half a quart. I really love the graphics on that thing too. So thank you, Max Speeding Rods, for getting me a new version of your generator. This thing's going to go out on the road with us. I really appreciate you sending this over. Let's get back to the video. So we're going to go ahead and get in here and turn the key and see what happens. I think we're going to see absolutely normal gauge activity. Lefty's already getting excited. We're not going anywhere, buddy. Don't worry. Oh, hold on a second. Okay. Round this one in. Everything's acting normal. Oh, look at the voltage. She's way up there. Way up there. Wait to start is lit. It's off. There we go. She was sounding a little funky there on the crank. I will admit, that was an uneven crank. Did you hear that? But this thing just needs to run. I just need to let this engine get hot. We should take it for a drive this morning. I think that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, so far everything's fine. We just came up the street here. We're basically still in the neighborhood at the school parking lot. I heard some clunking around back there, so I just pulled in here to make sure that there wasn't anything important. And I think it's just, you know, a can of something in the cabinet. I don't see anything loose back there that's banging around. As we were pulling in here to get ready to stop, this guy, you know, jumped down, ran in the back, started the barking, the whole sequence. It all comes back to him so quickly that every time we start to slow down and pull in somewhere to stop, that's his cue to go ballistic, because then he usually gets out to. So He doesn't forget. So he's got none of his, you know, pillow, nothing. So he's stuck just sitting just like that. But we're only just going to drive around the neighborhood for 5 minutes. Oh, there you go. Yeah, there you go. So let's continue on and I'm just feeling it. Everything feels absolutely normal. That crank was an odd crank. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Absolutely gorgeous out here. So beautiful. We are so lucky. All right, let's continue onward. Okay, you ready to keep driving? All right. You got your little chin rest there? Okay, buddy. Okay. Successful test drive. I don't feel anything wrong, but I don't like to take up too much of Grandma's driveway. Perfect. Like 2 inches from the grass. Okay. Put the windows up. Let's do a recrank to see how it sounds. Yeah, see, that's perfect. That's perfect. Absolutely. And I'm getting a faster crank because that loose battery connection was also, one of those cables goes to the second battery that's back there on the frame, the second cranking battery. So I wasn't getting full both battery juice up there. Wow. Yeah, that just cranked super fast. Well, thank you all for sticking around here and watching me fiddle around with the rig. You know, the solution is I wasn't using enough power, so my crank batteries couldn't stay charged up. So how goofy is that? That's the solution. I need to use more power. But thank you all again for being here. Before I go today, I want to wish Jim and Linda a happy 55th wedding anniversary. Congratulations, you two. Linda and I made it about 10 years. I don't know how y'all have made it 55 years, but congratulations. And all of you, take care, be safe, and we'll see y'all again really soon.